happy holidays, and welcome to this edition of Relatable. You can see it's a little bit different. We are. That is so fitting.
Thank you.
I really like it.
I've always wanted it.
Santa's in the house. We could put these down now. We might bring them back up. I mean, I feel like this is going to come up a lot. You're not letting go of your tiara?
No.
Oh, hilarious. All right. So obviously this is a holiday show. It's kind of our version of The View. We're going to work through, just reflecting on last year and our hopes for the new year. And of course, I'm joined with all of these lovely people that you probably recognize. They've been on the show before. Both I have the first year of show guests are represented, Eric in the house, and a lot of people from this season are here as well. Morning, we're going to get goofy and silly, just like we were doing so much ridiculousness off camera. So if you're not into the Christmas spirit, you should probably stop watching right now. Like, if you don't want a little,
get into it, or join us,
or get
join
into
us,
it,
yeah.
or get into it. Yeah, I mean, give it a chance. Like, stick in, stay here for a little bit. If you're watching via Facebook Live, share what's your favorite Christmas holiday or your favorite holiday tradition. What do you like about this time of year? So we're just going to jump right into it. I want you to get to know everybody that's here. Like I said, everyone that's sitting here has been on the show before. I'm going to start with Kate. Kate, tell me what you do, just to remind people what you do, and then tell me what has your attention right now, our favorite relatable question.
All right. Do you want me to take this?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. I'm Kate Anthony. I am a certified life coach, and I work with women who are trying to decide whether or not to leave their marriages. I also work with women and guide them through the divorce process if that is what they choose to do. Oh, and what has my attention right now? Right now, a lot of goofiness. In this particular moment, goofiness.
There's glitter everywhere.
There's
too.
glitter, and there are tiaras to be worn askew. It's amazing. But what really has my attention right now is being present with myself, helping others be more present with themselves and what's going on, and taking away, eradicating the masks and really the numbing mechanisms that we use to get through, that I certainly, personally, have used a lot of to get through 2018.
Yeah.
And hoping to go into 2019 with some more clarity and focus and mindfulness.
I want to talk more about that later.
Yeah,
I'm feeling that one a lot. And this is Eric. Eric, so remind everybody what you do, and then what has your attention right now.
So I've been involved in fashion for the last 6 years. We fund schooling for young girls overseas through fashion. I'm launching a new company as we speak, and it's an online therapy product that would give access to therapy to people of color and as well as LGBTQ communities. There's a severe lack of engagement due to cost, stigma, and the lack of cultural competency by the healthcare system. So that's my new love, and what has my attention today would be vis-a-vis what I'm doing, it'd be healing. I think that many of us, to your point, tend to have found ways to survive behind those masks that you just mentioned. And so this is as a way to gently make available a product that we hope can make a bit of a difference.
I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Robert, do you remember those questions?
I'll ad-lib if I don't.
All right. You kind of expect it. In this get up, you kind of expect it.
I'm Robert Graves. Thank you for having me back for the fourth time?
Yeah, I was going to say, Robert's been here the most.
Yeah.
Robert has been the most. He has the repeat offender kind of badge.
Repeat offender?
Yeah. In a good way. Relatable repeat offender badge of honor.
No, so 10-year Marine Corps veteran. I wrote the book How to Grow a Beard, a Military Transition Guide Back into Civilian Life, which is the story of my transition and all the lessons that I learned put into one area. And I wrote that book, other people started reaching out, and that's when I created the Year of the Vet podcast to invite vets to tell their transition stories so we can build the vets up and not have them fall on their face. But recently I just got hired as the DAV, the Disabled American Veterans, Director of Operations in California. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a ride. So what Where my energy, my focus is, I just made a new mantra that I can control my road rage. So that is where my focus is currently.
Did you have some coming here?
No, not here.
Okay.
Not. It's been about
Because
2
you can
days.
control
I can
it.
control it.
Control it. It's working. It's
Hello,
working.
weren't you listening?
I'm listening.
Hi.
Andi?
Yeah, I'm Andi. I am the owner of Artful Influence, and I basically, my focus and what I do is harness the power of influence for social change through marketing and really working with the way that marketing is evolving to make a difference in the world. And in terms of where my attention is right now is really with the power of showing up, both for myself and for other people. And I mean, to your point, really being present and the power of showing up for yourself and for the people who matter to you every day in all the ways that you can, and doing that time and time and time again, and really harnessing that practice.
It's amazing. I put a call out for like who could be here today, who could like really join us, and I feel like this is the exact right group. Everybody, what you just shared, everybody has some connection to each other already, and it's very interesting. Like we're mindful and concerned about other people, and then acting on that, and I love that. I'm so glad that you guys are getting to meet each other for the first time, and I think this is a good way to start the show. So. The first thing I just want to talk about before we kind of reflect on the year and then talk about what we hope is going to happen in 2019 is let's just talk about the holidays. I mean, I'm feeling like we need to lean in because of all these things that have happened this year. So I want to hear from each one of you, what's your favorite holiday tradition? What do you like about this year? Or this year, the holidays, Robert.
The day after Thanksgiving, doesn't matter what kind of mood I'm in, it's lights up. Lights up on the house, decorations going on. We just got the tree last week, and Santa duties, wrapping presents last night till 2, 3 in the morning. So, get that out the way, enjoy the Christmas music.
Do you have a hiding spot? What's your favorite hiding? Oh, well, you can't tell.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, Jake may be watching.
Jake won't watch this for another 14 years, so he'll be okay. No, lights up, that's guaranteed. Lights up is the guaranteed tradition, and I try to get into Christmas spirit, throw on Coast 103.5, blare at the neighbors. I'm the only house in the neighborhood, by the way,
that
puts up lights.
Really?
And now it's starting to trickle in one strand here or 2 strands here, or they'll forget to turn on the lights. But yeah, we're the only house that does decorations for Halloween, Christmas. Arlene does New Year's and Valentine's Day.
Does everybody else have children in your neighborhood? All I see is glitter. I keep getting little pieces of glitter.
They're older. There is one family with a younger kid, but yeah, Jake loves it because he gets it sparkles. So yeah, he's 4. Yeah, super mad, and we just adopted an elf that lives on a shelf.
On a shelf.
And everywhere else in the house. So he likes doing that now. So that's a fun tradition too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, favorite holiday tradition. This year's been interesting. The holidays really came and caught me unaware this year. I don't know what happened, and all of a sudden it's December. But my favorite holiday tradition, I have this dancing rabbi menorah that really, it just sparks so much joy in my heart.
It's a whole menorah?
It's a menorah, and no, it's each candle holder is a different dancing rabbi.
Okay.
So they're in a line. It's 9 rabbis in a line. They're not moving, but it's a quality family heirloom. It will be passed down from generation to generation, and it is just a really spectacular piece of art.
I have to see this.
I have to see this.
I will gladly share it with you.
Yes, when you Instagram this, will you tag all of us?
Absolutely.
I'm imagining the full Monty of menorah. That's what I'm imagining.
Yeah. It's the dance.
It may be better in your
We could probably act this out right here.
We could. Everyone strike a pose.
There's
Oh my God, amazing. Is it my turn? Is that why I got the mic?
It's like the talking stick.
It is
If
like
you
the
have
talking
it,
stick or
you
the
gotta
talking
talk.
pillow
Yeah,
if you're a
you
Breaking
have
Bad fan. Favorite holiday tradition? I'm going to bring it down a minute because one of the things that's really hard in divorce is forging new traditions. And I've been divorced for 10 years, and I still don't have like a full array of traditions that we, you know, I've got my mother, I've got my son, sometimes I have them Christmas Day, sometimes I have them Christmas Eve, and so it's hard to create traditions, and that's one of the things that that I work with people on, is really sort of trying to figure out, with fluidity, with flexibility, what are these new traditions going to be. My son is 13 now, so he has admitted to me that he's found all of the presents over the last few years, and he knew where to look. So now I have to come up with new spots.
Or not get him anything.
Or just, right, exactly. Oh, well. Exactly. Oh, well, guess you ruined Christmas. Guess you killed Santa Claus.
Direct eye contact.
I know. Do you hear me? If you're watching, you're supposed to be in math class.
No.
Busted. So busted.
Right.
Right, that's my son. Naughty. Yeah, this is me, right? I really tried. Thanks for killing the Christmas spirit. So, but one of my new favorite traditions, I started this last year, and I didn't know that anyone was going to show up, and you guys are all now officially invited, is that I decided to have a Christmas Day open house. And it's come in your pajamas, come in your finest array, come with your whole family, come by yourself, whatever. And I did it last year because my mom used to do this when I was growing up, and it was huge. And so last year I was like, I don't know, let's try it. And it was huge.
Right.
So I'm doing it again this year. So that is now
I have a red onesie I think I'm going to break out.
You're going to wear it. You're totally going to
onesie.
wear it. Okay, good. Perfect.
But the buttons kind of like pop open, so maybe
even better.
It might be an X-rated red onesie. I'm like, wait,
just wear
why
a sexy
haven't I
bra.
worn this in a while? Like, oh yes,
Nothing
we
little
might
tinsel
we might need some safety pins or some glitter.
Or glitter.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Onesie under the onesie.
Oh, onesie
Exactly.
under the onesie?
Just to
All
keep
right.
bras and pasties,
Yeah.
whatever. It's
Fashion
fine.
guru right next to you.
Yeah. What should I put under the onesie,
Your
Eric?
turn.
Oh, hi.
He's gonna say,
Under the onesie?
yeah. You know what I mean? Like a
Well,
real
I do. I just.
up the buttons. It doesn't have the little, the little
open
It
button.
doesn't have that. It's just a red onesie with buttons up the front.
What are the?
And the buttons pop open.
And the button
So what she was
Can I see it first?
Yes.
I say
I will
a lacy push-up
I will
bra.
also
don't
post
know
that
what to
picture.
call it.
Like, yeah.
right next to the dancing men's.
What variables do you have to consider to think
Well,
about what should go under the onesie?
Because I was thinking the color of the button, like.
Oh, it's like a white
Okay, because it
button.
matters. See, now I'm going fashion. Like
Yeah.
The
That's
contrast of
hey,
the-
that's what you're here for. We want to hear.
Are we actually going to talk about the onesie and the color? Are we-
No, you get to talk about your favorite.
No, okay, so
We can move on.
No. So I'd love to see the onesie.
Okay.
Can I see it?
Yes, it's not with me right now.
Okay.
Yes, it's under the stress. Like, no, it's not with me. But yes, I will be happy to share the onesie. We'll do a whole nother show on just how to accessorize the red onesie.
Onesie. Should I have a onesie?
Hey, I'm all for that. I've been wanting to do a pajama show, and everybody's just on pillows on the
It
floor.
has feet. It's a grown onesie.
I saw
Where
them.
did you
Yours
find
too?
one?
They have them at Target right now.
Go on tipsyelves.com.
Tipsy Elves?
You got free advertisement. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
You found one that was tall
Tipsy
enough
Elves.
for you?
Go on Tipsy Elves.
Is it tall?
The internet is amazing.
It's amazing.
I was in class the other day and guys came in full suits of like Christmas, like the ugly sweater,
Yeah.
full suit. I'm like, I have to step my game up.
Nice.
I'm getting a full suit of something, elves, Santa, whatever it is.
They
I'm
have.
getting
I've
one.
seen those. Those are
Nice.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Those are pretty
When is
awesome.
your party? So I'll know.
Oh, Christmas
what
Day.
Okay.
It's Christmas.
It's
Day.
for the nomads.
Wednesday.
Yeah?
Yes, it is.
Onesie.
It's for the, yeah, it's for
Eric,
yes.
and I have spent the last like 5 or 6 Christmas Eves together, and now she's not doing it anymore. A friend of ours, she hasn't done it for the last.
She hasn't, yeah.
Yeah.
A friend of
So
ours.
now
what
we,
happened- that's what
our
happened
new
to me.
tradition could be Kate.
That's what happened to me. I was my best friend
Yeah.
always had this party, and we were like, thank God we have a tradition. And now he's like going to Hawaii, and he went to like Costa Rica last year, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's so not fair.
I know.
We did Christmas
We got-
caroling-
Yeah, it's
we did
uncivilized.
Christmas caroling 4 years in a row. Got a whole big group, did the ugly sweater, pajama, whatever. Kids, the whole deal. Went into Culver City, knocked on every door. Christmas caroled and then wrapped it up with a karaoke deal. And then like after the 3rd year, 4th year, people were like, well, we should practice because and so that kind of killed the moment.
Aww.
Yeah.
Aww.
I will Christmas carol with you. And
All right.
miss
Let's
Christmas
go.
caroling.
Okay, Eric. What
All
do you?
So your new tradition is coming to my house Christmas Day. So that's settled.
Yeah. Well, yes, we
Yes.
should.
Okay.
We got it. We got it. I mean, I've missed you the last couple of years at the holidays.
I know. You and I met when? 6 years ago? 7 years ago?
It's
at
been
least,
that long.
right?
Yeah.
With the red dress that you had on.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
I remember.
Now it's the red onesie.
I know. So,
What do you like about the holidays?
well, now for me, growing up overseas in Senegal, which is mostly Muslim, minority of which, Catholic, Christian in Senegal, there is so much harmony between both religions that they bought the Christmas tree before we even did, right? And that's something that I think we should try to get back to, where there's seamlessness between who you are, what you look like, and what you believe in as well. And my mom used to have also, much like you said, an open house where neighbors who were mostly Muslim would just come in and just spend the whole day with us. And I'm trying to see if I can, preserve that kind of attitude, in this country, which tends to be not as receptive to a degree, right, to those kind of sentiments. So
People get upset. They say that we've taken the religion out of the holiday, but I like the religion of interfaith. That we all do come together. That the holidays are the thing that connects us, and so I don't necessarily. And I think that's the most spiritual thing we can do. So I don't mind that it's not Christmas or Hanukkah or I like it that it's just holiday time and that we do get to come together and we get to learn each other. When I look at religion, there's all these special traditions in each one. And I love the idea of sharing that and having something more, I think, what you're talking about, where it's all aside, we're just coming together and showing our common humanity.
that's it.
Yeah,
That's
I like
simple.
it.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Yeah. I'm going to bring some Muslim to your house tonight.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please.
I will.
Yeah, I like this. This could be our
isn't
new
it? Yeah.
tradition. Totally.
25th.
Does anybody else want to weigh in on that? Just what do your thoughts about religion and the holiday time? Kate's like,
Well, I just wanted to say that it wasn't last year, but it was the year before, so it was just before the election. And my mom and I went to church on Christmas Eve, and we go to a church that is an Episcopal church, but it's all about social justice. It is, putting faith into action, and all of it. There's social justice tables when you walk out on Sundays, and they had a group of Muslims were welcoming us in, sort of lining the path into the church on Christmas Eve. They had, and it was all this whole interfaith ceremony, in particular with people of Muslim faith, for just that reason, to show that this is all of us together. And it was very poignant and very moving that it was, less than a month. It was after the election, so it was just before.
it was needed.
It was after the election, before the inauguration. And so it was very much needed, right? We needed to come together as one in that moment. It was so powerful, so incredibly powerful. So yes to that.
Yeah.
Yes to that.
How about at this side? Any thoughts on religion in the tradition of holidays?
Hand it on over. Yeah, no, I think right now is a time when there aren't really any rules, and we all kind of have to decide for ourselves what's the right way to celebrate. And I think there's a lot of conversation about the right way to do things, the wrong way to do things, and there really is no right or wrong way to do things right now. I have like lost all sense of, you should talk about Christmas at the holiday time, or you shouldn't. I don't really care. I think that we just need to learn how to be more accepting of each other and make more space for each other, and stop looking for reasons to be mad at each other and tell each other that we're doing things wrong. I think a lot of people are really confused right now in terms of what's happening in the world, and the more that we can use this time, to your point, to just celebrate each other and hold space for each other and make room for each other, that I think is the right thing to do right now.
And I don't think that it's not, it's the absence of rules. It's not that we do need some structure, but what the time is about is to learn and to adjust and to reevaluate, and then you can add your own structure into things, and invite other people into it. Like Kate having this day where you're bringing people together to form a new tradition, like that is in a way a structure and a rule. So it's not. I don't think me personally, I'm not anti-rules or anti-structure. I actually like structure in a lot of parts of my life, because once the structure is down, then I can be open and creative and exploratory once I have like some basic stuff there. So I think sometimes the opposite side of this that might be very conservative and traditional is like, oh, anything goes and that's terrible. No. That means people are learning. And I personally, and I think I'll share more about this later, like I really mark this year as the year of learning for me, that I just fell in love with learning and really just wanting to absorb and move through every aspect of my life with okay, that wasn't great, but like what did I learn from it, and just continue on in life with that. Your thoughts, Robert?
Well, outside of the religion aspect, I mean, I grew up Methodist, like hardcore Methodist in the church 6 days a week, twice on Sundays. I mean, like the whole deal, right? And then joining the military and actually, being raised in the house with my mother who dated Muslims and Buddhists, and like I went to the agape, and I was exposed to a lot of that at an early age, and then in the military, even more so. And so the baseline structure of religion has broken apart a long time ago. But what I see for Christmas in particular, right, is that the rich and the poor celebrate it. It's I asked Jake, why he's excited about Christmas, and I'm expecting, it's this time of, wealth and giving, and we can all be. But he's 4, so he's like, I like to get presents. So what the baseline foundation of the holidays is to be happy and joyful and look forward to something, right? To have something to look forward to, and whether that's my wife looks forward to the Christmas quiche in the morning or whatever, the souffle, and
does she make it?
Yeah, they do. They have their whole deal, right? I look forward to putting up the lights, and then I really look forward to just spending that time with the family on the day of, and I appreciate it more so now because there's been so many times where that may not have been the case. Like today might be the day that I lose my freedom, my life, whatever it is, and so just being able to be grateful throughout the holiday season and see people stressing about shopping and whatnot, but like the intention is that we're trying to make each other happy, make our families happy, and so as it pertains to like how I feel the religion has a factor in this whole deal, I think that realistically, if we can just stop shitting on each other, like.
That's why Jake's not watching.
I'm telling you, like, yeah, that's the scientific term.
Yeah.
But like, if I'm enjoying the holidays, I don't need you to tell me how bad and shitty the holidays are, or like that I shouldn't be enjoying, or or don't be a Scrooge, don't be a bah humbug. That's the worst thing you can do is keep that negative energy to yourself, because you can look around and you're like, wow, the lights are so pretty. That should just change that should just change your whole being when you walk out the door and just see Christmas or the holidays in general.
Well, the idea that people are celebrating with their families, do you see, so when I think of the holidays, I think slow down. Like it's the one time a year, like even in work, nobody's answering your emails right away. Right. So there's I get to like actually slow down a little bit. I actually get to sleep in a little bit for the holidays. So imagining that and really hoping everybody has a place to go, because this is also a time of year where people experience isolation. It's a high suicide rate, people are suicidal during the holidays. So, but if you can lean into just slowing down and connecting with people.
One
like
person.
Even one
Just one
person.
person.
It just takes one person. That's what makes it special, is that slowdown, I think. Yeah? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. What are you looking forward to this year? So we're looking forward to your party. Is there any new traditions that you're doing this year that you're really looking forward to for either December or New Year's? We can talk about New Year's. No. We survived 2018. Yeah. Is that pretty much? Yeah, we were talking about this off camera, like what was this year for us? And we all kind of have some of our thoughts around this. Let's go there.
I really tried.
Really to be as nice as possible. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Well, let's go, Kate. She's like, whoa.
Oh, what's the question?
What does 2008 in your mind, how is it going to be marked in your mind? Like this was the year of, it's Mad Libs.
Well, I mean, it's multi-layered, right? It's complicated. It was the year of, complete insanity, meltdown, breakdown, grief, tragedy, sort of on a global, for me, like my vision of like on a global scale, it was like, from a global perspective or from a national perspective, it seemed like the destruction of something that I really took for granted and that I thought was actually kind of stable and in place, And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that when we expose cracks in any foundation, we're able to strengthen the structure moving forward.
Absolutely.
We're not there yet. We're not in the strengthening yet. I think that we're still exposing the cracks, and we're starting to, but before breakthrough has to come breakdown, and I think we're in the middle of this quite an epic breakdown, my personal opinion. And I think I felt that reflected personally as well. And, I just think there was a lot of that for me this year.
Yeah.
And again, I don't take my personal breakdowns as tragic or horrible or bad. There's so much learning in them. There's so much information, whether they're mistakes that I've made or horrible things that have happened or things that I'm dealing with and processing. It's all great information for moving forward. And so my plan for 2019 is to really be mindful and present to those things and take them forward intentionally and deliberately into my personal practices and into my work, because what I do is empower women. And I help women get through one of the biggest breakdowns in their entire lives by building them up, by healing and fixing those cracks in their own foundations.
Yeah. Eric, when you think about 2018, what comes up for you?
So for me, it was a difficult year because I had to come to terms with the fact that a new project of mine might have meant replacing it and taking over one that I had spent 6 years on, which was meant to empowering young girls, which is very close to my heart. But the deeper I get into dealing with trauma and healing for people whose voices aren't being honored enough, I ask myself, how much did this matter to me? And I've personally, maybe you don't know this, faced severe depression issues for years. And the deeper I got into the project, I was like, well, this could be it, right? But I had to mourn the fact that what I had spent so much time on might have had to be let go. A week of being depressed on the couch, past that, I was like, okay, so maybe this is it. So I spent the last 6 months on it, and I feel blessed. I feel honored to be able to, to get in a place where we can be of service to people, again, who, by virtue of where they are from, their zip codes, aren't being given a chance to go, I'm not doing too well. So 2019, I think, is going to be a good year.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. So, yeah.
Do you think that you had to experience that depression in 2018 to help with this new project, so you can understand like the stigma around mental health and asking for help, and then looking and seeing, well, geez, where can I where can I find this help? Because that's all in your new project, right?
Yeah. So it's geared towards people that have a hard time finding a therapist. Though they exist, they feel as though there aren't enough that look like them. And the notion that you have to see someone, you have to see yourself in someone to be able to open up and find safe space does matter, right? And given the diversity that we currently live in, and given how intersectional this country is, you ought to be able to demand having someone that you can speak to. And so for me personally, this could be a projection as to, who I've been, and to your point, what I've been through as well. And I think it does nothing but reinforce my desire to do this well, right? I need to be able to show up for people who I know are hiding behind the desk, I know are hiding behind, a bed, don't know how to ask mom, dad, siblings, the imam, the rabbi or the pastor, hey, I'm not doing too well.
Yeah.
And so this is meant to destigmatize the whole approach and hopefully get you to be open to it.
Yeah. I know you've been there with me, the Relational Center. I need to reconnect you with them with your new project, because there are so many therapists that go to the Relational Center specifically to be trained so they can connect with people that are usually marginalized and can't find somebody that they feel has the same issue or can relate. So that's your network. So we need to.
I'd love that.
We need to make that connection,
I'd
because
love that.
you're speaking their language actually. So I'm really excited about that,
Thank
because
you.
I haven't heard this part. Are you sharing this part? I'm like, oh, I've got to reconnect
that.
him. Yeah.
I have a lot of
good
see? Good networks of
Okay.
I've realized,
that.
I don't know what this says
Yeah.
about me, but 80% of my friends are therapists. I don't know what, I don't.
says you have good- you have good people.
Yeah, it's like, I like therapists.
Oh,
Would you?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Ladies first.
Thank you very much, sir. I think, so for me, if I were to summarize 2018, I would say it's the year of cognitive dissonance.
Nice.
There has been a deep underlying anxiety that has driven my life below the surface throughout this year. But objectively, from if you look at the accomplishments, if you look at the things that I've done throughout the year, I'm really proud of myself, and I'm really proud of the things that I've done, and I'm so excited about the direction that things are heading. But there's this feeling, the feeling of it doesn't feel that way yet. That hasn't integrated yet.
Yeah.
So my hope for 2019 is that it becomes a year of integration and growth, that I'm able to take this high amplitude existence that I've had and this kind of dissonance between my reality and what is true and what is real and what I am kind of speaking in my mind and how I'm talking to myself, and unite those things in a way that's productive, that helps me help more people, that helps me show up for people, and that helps me, move the needle on reforming, the criminal justice system, working on criminal justice reform, which I think is where I'm going to be spending the majority of my time next year. So I'm excited about, I'm excited and grateful for all of the things that I've been through, but it really has been a year of the objective reality and my emotional reality not matching up.
I can completely relate to that. Completely relate to that. So that's all I want to say.
And I think that's true. I think that's true for a lot of us. I think that there is, divorce is an interesting area of exploration, because it's a structural, structurally things fall apart in the way that's being reflected in our culture right now. Some of the systemic foundations that we have relied on for so many years are kind of crumbling in front of us in a way that's creating a sense of uncertainty and anxiety, and I think it's pervasive in almost everybody that I talk to. There are very few people who are sensitive in nature that haven't been feeling this tension.
I find that I define it mostly in social norms. Like I experience the world and the social norms that most people have said this is what is normal right now. Yeah. Like I interviewed a sociologist a couple weeks ago that said most people don't consider kindness in their sexual encounters, like when they're meeting people on dating apps, and so they're dating or they're in hookup culture. Like 80-90% of people don't consider that kindness should be a part of that equation. It's like, really? I can't accept that.
This is why I don't date anymore.
Yeah, I can't. That can't be the norm.
An example of unkind dating?
Well, it's more.
I have not been on a dating app in a long time, so.
Lying. So 50% of profiles online, they're lying about something. So lying is a prevalent social norm when you are a single person and you're using dating apps to try to meet people. Ghosting, Kate, that's a great example. Being more like, hey, I want to meet for dinner, but really it's about the hookup, and then once that's done, if that's what both parties decide to pursue, then a complete goodbye. A very disposable relationship. So they're not, and they expect it. It's like, well, that's what happens. So that the social norms of like how we are actually interacting with each other. That many people are like, yeah, that's fine, it's fine, or they just will, look at that experience, and go, well, that's just how it is. I'm like, no, I don't accept that. I really don't.
Social media, the invention of social media and the utilization of social media has completely disrupted, and technology, dating apps, whatever, have completely disrupted our communities and ways of interacting with each other. Yeah. And it's a pervasive, we have like a mass communication problem that needs to be solved.
And it's not, these things can be used, I look at them as value neutral, right? Because some of us have met this way, we connected online, so there's good things that can come out of it. But for the most part, it's just the distraction of it all, of like having 24/7 access to photos and other people's lives, and this news topic and this thing and this thing.
And there's also no none of us are tuned into the same channels.
Yeah.
There used to be this kind of centralized campfire, good or bad. I mean, cable news and cable and TV being a kind of central force that we were all tuned into. We were all watching the similar programs. We were all kind of showing up to the same information. Whereas now it's so individualized, and that's not going to change either. Right. So part of what I, and this is going off in a different direction, but that isn't changing. So instead of resisting it, how do we work with the way that things are changing to build a more sustainable lifestyle and future for more people? Yeah. And that is a thing that we all need to jump into, and we all need to work on solving, figuring out what is healthy and how do we communicate that throughout our
I think
culture.
About this a lot, and I think the answer to this is where we do need structure. We actually need to build into our lives times to take a time out and to have a certain person that we check in with. Like, I believe our human system was not meant for the frequency of content and new information that hits us, and so we don't really, this relationship with learning is a little bit weird. We might push things away really quickly or let something absorb and not have a real process to like, oh, Kate's my person that I talk to about this. Like, we have to be mindful about the people that are in our circles and develop maybe new relationships that challenge, support us, and mentor us, and then to put some structure in that in our lives where we always take a mindful time out to evaluate some of the new things that are in our system and to check in with other people. And that's where I'd like to see more structure. Yes. Like, people really to embrace, like, I really need to talk to my family more on a regular basis. It's going to be Mom Mondays, or whatever it is, but put some structure in how we're relating with each other. Robert.
There's a lot that was said that I won't be able to tap into because I'm so off the charts with my thoughts sometimes, but
never.
But a lot of it wraps up into, well, let me get to 2018. To me was a year of trying to prove, right? Whether it was prove something to myself, prove something to my wife, prove something to my, professors, whatever. I felt like looking back at it, I feel like I was trying to prove a lot to a lot of people. For instance, when I went to West Point, it was an unpaid internship, no room and board, and I was like, F it, I'm gonna sleep in the back of my truck. So I drove my truck across, the country, and for the opportunity to intern at West Point, I was gonna take the hit. I was gonna pass that up. I would have scrubbed bathrooms at McDonald's if that was whatever it was. I knew that my intention was to get there and prove myself to West Point that I was capable, and I did, and so 2018 was a big proving point. However, my background, my master's in sport and performance psychology, right? So, I have my, a certificate or certification in hypnotherapy. So the subconscious mind and how we do our daily stuff, right, for a lack of a better word, that has always interested me. And so back to something you were talking about with this, essentially post-traumatic growth, learning from your mistakes, right? Like a phenomenal book that a hot topic in our community is Grit by Angela Duckworth, right? Dr. Angela Duckworth. And if you haven't read that, please pick that up.
What's the title?
Grit.
And yeah, but it's all about like learning from the failures and misconceptions of whatever it is that you've experienced, and then taking what you've learned and then applying it into the future. Therefore, it's not failure; it's a lesson learned. Blah, 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 right? And then, for the conversation over here, where it's the thought process of I'm doing so much, I want to feel the benefits that I've reaped, right, or that I've sowed. I want to sow, but then over the last year, I've learned that it's all about trusting the process, right? So
That's the hard part.
Yeah, it's like, one of the things that when I got back from West Point, I made my family adopt a mantra, and it's success blesses my life, or our lives, right? This is my mantra that I've made them adopt. Success blesses our lives, and our freedoms are abundant because all the work that we have done pays off in dividends daily. My 4-year-old son can recite that, and I ask him all the time, like, what does that mean to you, right? And so, like, we'll work at it, and over time I want him to adopt that. But the minute I started adopting that, to this day, I was offered a COO position, the DAV got me, and I'm just all these blessings because everything that I've worked for constantly, like all those hours of, podcasting editing, learning the system, right?
Yes.
All the hours of the writing, all the hours of my thesis, all the hours of driving to New York and to sleep in a truck, and there were very nice people there that helped me out, but all that work that I put in from day one when I created my intention, right? That is what I've learned from 2008. If my intention is proper and the work that I do is fulfilling that moment, or just a little bit at a time, right? I don't have to blow my load and be like, I'm rich. Sorry for that's the Marine in me. Sorry, guys. I totally know that this is like borderline PC.
It's 11 a.m. on Tuesday. We hope. Nobody's on Christmas
There's
break
water
yet,
in
right?
here, not coffee.
Can you repeat your
I think
mantra?
I want to share. I want to share that in the archives.
Success.
It's nice.
Success blesses my life, and my freedoms are abundant because all the work that I've done pays off in dividends daily. And even to state that, like when I brought that to, and it's written on my mirror, right? And so is my road rage. That's on another mirror. But I wrote that on the mirror, and like when I brought it to the house to have it, brought it up in the house to have it adopted, my wife actually wanted to change some of the words where our freedoms are limitless. And so like it felt weird to me. And this, going back, I was listening to you, and a lot of what we say, we don't realize that we're blocking ourselves apparently automatically, subconsciously. And what was killing me, I was like, oh yeah, I'll adopt it. If this is gonna be a family thing, I want it to be inclusive of everybody and limitless. Well, you're putting that word limit right in front of, and it was killing me because like I was like, there's something weird about this. And when you say it, and our freedoms are limitless, like the very first thing you say is they're limited, but actually they're limitless, right? That very first word, it's like when you say, don't think of your feet. It's like,
Don't think of that purple elephant in the room.
Yeah, right? So it's all about verbiage. It's all about how we translate. Like I was listening to you earlier, and you were saying, I'm going to do something in 2019. Well, change that to it's happening, or I'm doing this, right? And in that intention, I mean, I've learned in 2018 that words are so freaking important to your subconscious.
I feel that element. For sure. You have something, Eric?
No, I was just agreeing.
I write sometimes on these cards, I'm going to, and then, why am I saying that? We're doing this. This is what we're doing, like this is happening. All right, so we are getting close to the end, and we've got so much good stuff to go to. This is good. All right, so 2019. We kind of already talked about it. We've already kind of talked about our hopes. Let's go a little bit deeper. Like, what are you really feeling? I mean, we know personally, like, we're just kind of, it feels collectively we're all like, I just want more connection to what the seeds that I've already put out there, and more, and it's intentional, and we want the work to pay off, but we're having a better relationship with what we're doing right now. I hear all of that. Is there anything else that comes up when you think about 2019? What's the big hope? And let's talk. Does anybody set resolutions? Are we a resolutions crew here?
Not more of an intention.
Yeah, me too. I think I'm setting things all the time, so I don't think it's a real thing. I think when you have a new year, it resets things, so you can kind of revisit some of the intentions you have. But I'm not a big resolution person.
Every morning I set a resolution.
Yeah. I have an intention. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, Kate, you have thoughts?
Does anyone else have thoughts first?
Not resolute, but just what else? What else do you really hope for? Let's really talk about hopes for 2019. What do you lean into?
Valley. Get me out of the valley.
Where do you want to go?
I want to go to Santa Monica. I'd like to be back on the other side of the mountain for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. In fact, so much so, like this is.
Is your family on board with this?
Look, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my wife does not want to be. When we bought in the valley, she's like, nah. I think that was the same actual noise that came out of her. But, no, like if there are any veterans out there watching this, I know it sounds a little woo-woo, but I do have a vision board, right? And there's a house that I would drive by to get to my office in Santa Monica, and it was an open house, and I've been in it like 4 or 5 different times. It got bought. I was like, okay, well that house is still on I pulled it off the mailer or whatever it is. I put it on my vision board, and I drove by it. It's been sold for a year, but I drove by it like 2 weeks ago. That's my house. Get out of my house, people.
Or something better. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
yeah. So my intention is to just up my game and move to a place where I feel more safe, not even safe, just like home. I feel like I'm home, close to the beach. I want to get close to the beach.
My hope for 2019 is to generate.
This is going to be good.
No, is to generate hope.
Yeah.
Is to generate hopefulness, and to be light, and to feed into that light, and to sustain that light, and to do what I need to do to be that light. Because I think, it's like, how do you use your gifts that you're given to serve the world the best, and serve the best. And I really feel like the world is missing some light right now. And so I mentioned the likelihood of my focus being in criminal justice reform next year in a really powerful way. And there's a lot of really interesting and exciting progressions that are happening in that space. And it's one of those areas where you can actually see progress happening, where you can actually see people coming together around a cause, around people being unjustly incarcerated and unfairly, treated. And it's such a symbol of systemic issues in so many ways. And it feels powerful to have landed on an issue that feels symbolic and emblematic of so many other things that we're dealing with today. And if I'm able to work on that in a meaningful way where you can actually create hope for justice and liberty for all in this time, I am, that's my intention, and that is my hope.
Love it. Love it.
I don't want to be so the house thing. Like realistically,
He's like, I take it back.
No,
I take it
that is an absolute truth.
That's on there.
That's an absolute truth. But like realistically, I've been thinking a lot about legacy, right? So I work with veterans, and I have the ability now, in the role that I have, to affect a lot of people's lives for the better. And like my intention is to build that school, and however I get to building that school, whatever path takes me there, my intention is to make my life better, but make everybody. I have a quick saying, and it's, I want to be on the top of the mountain, but I don't want to have to describe what the scene looks like. I don't want to describe what the view looks like. I want you up there with me to see it. And so that's where I'm going, and that's like every day at work, and that's what I'm looking to do.
I saw a social media post today that was a sign that said something similar, that, you know, I don't need to get there by myself. I want us all to go. There's plenty of room. I agree with that too. And I think that's why self-care has become so much more important to me, because I always love the saying about the oxygen masks on the plane, that, you know, if you're traveling with a small child, you put it on you first so you can take care of them. You can't go to that. You've got to take care of you. And so if you're wanting to help people and you're wanting to make a difference, I think of legacy a lot too. I don't have children. I'm not going to have children. So my legacy has to be the way that I left this planet, that I left it in a better place. And I can't do that if I'm not taking care of myself. It's a hard balance to strike, because it feels kind of selfish, but you got to take care of this, so then you can be more available, more present with other people. And I do hope that the year of 2019, especially for me, I have this hope that it's the year of collaboration. It's a year of, there's so many great people, and just in hearing what everybody here is doing, you know, we're trying to make a difference. And you can't do that alone. You cannot do that alone. So really being able to connect with other people and put that agenda out in a bigger way, I think that would be the greatest hope that I have for myself and for anybody else, that like, hey, I know how hard you're working. I know how important this is to you. And it's like, I hope that we meet people. And I would go on to say, and I suspect this is going to be the social challenge for this show, is that the greatest gift that you can give someone is to make an introduction for them, whether it be for personal reasons or business reasons, or if it's just a hunch that I really think you would like this person. I'd love to see more people do that this year. That would be my hope. Just start introducing people to other people, right? The guys have started this ladies first thing. I really like it. It's very sweet. Very sweet.
And as a feminist, I accept.
I like it.
My hope for I have plans for 2019. I also have hopes, but I have plans. My biggest plan is to launch my group program that I just finished a beta run of, and it was so much better than I ever thought it would be. I was just like, I don't know if they're gonna like it. I don't know. Like had all this negative self-talk and self-doubt and stuff, and hey, I'm a life coach and I, work with inner critics a lot, but hey, I'm human too, right? So, and it just showed up as this incredibly powerful thing that changed women's lives. And speaking of collaboration, one of the things I learned throughout this process was that I wanted to give these women so many gifts that there were other people that were better equipped to do it. And that doesn't mean that I couldn't give them the gift. I just had to invite other people in. So I have tons of guest experts, and for years as a coach, I had this idea that like I had to be the expert of all things, and I'm just not. And so I've invited these.
Take over there.
For me too.
Right. And so I've invited all of these incredible people on to talk about the things that they're experts in. And bring that to my group, and it's just so exciting. I have so much work to do, just from a podcast editing, shooting videos, PDFs, like all of it. There's so much work ahead of me. But I'm going to launch it to the world in 2019, and I'm so excited about it because I think it's important. It's important, and I feel like it feeds into so much of what we're talking about on a global scale, on a global level, that women's empowerment, women not standing for relationships that are doing them harm, whether that's emotionally or physically, psychologically, and women understanding that they're actually worth more. They're actually worth. I was listening to this morning on NPR, they were talking about, I know we're running out of time.
It's okay, no.
Talking about women standing up for themselves in gynecological exams, right? And actually being able to say, hey, what are you doing? What is that, that
I can't see you.
That doesn't, I can't see.
I don't know what's going
but
on.
I don't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
I don't know what you're doing, or the way that you're talking to me about this doesn't feel comfortable. And the idea that we can't even speak up about that in our own relationships, let alone at the gynecologist or during sexual assault or any kind of inappropriate, like it has to start with our own personal growth and development to be, women who understand that we actually deserve the place that we are inhabiting on this planet, and we deserve to be happy in it and fulfilled.
What?
We do, right? And then we can affect more change on a global scale. And anyway.
Love it.
Soapbox descended.
It's all right.
For me, it would be, and I think it's been the theme here in this room, but it'd be empathy.
Yeah.
On a bigger scale, I think this country over the last couple of years, and it's going to be unfair to say this, but to me, empathy needs to be expected from the people who think they've been slighted. And by this, I mean...
I feel that.
Right?
Yeah.
So by this, I mean, a couple of years ago when, unfortunately, and again, I'm going to show here my political leanings, forgive me, liberal progressives, which one of them, we have a proclivity for thinking that we are, better traveled, well-read, all the above. And to me, we need to be able to find a way to say to, quote unquote, the people on the other side, say, look, I might have been wrong about this. And you could be right about this, actually. And find a way to just be a bit more humble and find in ourselves to go, our rapport should transcend those views that we have, right?
Yes.
And we expect them to do the same, and more actually than we even do. And so to me, on the route to becoming a better human being, when you want to lead someone to find you, you have to give them a chance to fail their way through it.
I 100% agree.
Right? And so we will jump on you and say, you aren't doing this right, though I know you want to get to where I am. And I'm going to chastise you for it and have you go back to wherever you came from. And we need to be a lot more supportive, right? And be open. And also say to ourselves, look, I wasn't born here. I was born here and I was taught to get here. And we need to be able to do the same for people around us. So that's my overall feeling, empathy for this next year. And
I can totally relate to that. Something challenging that happened this year for me was someone in the middle of a work project, you know about this, decided to show their activism. And this is somebody that I considered I had a personal relationship with, but also did work with. But in the middle of a project that was they were already holding up the deadline. I was telling them, I'm really struck. They decided to say, okay, I don't want to be connected to this because I feel like this is inappropriate. But they did the graphics. What they felt was inappropriate was something that they did. Oh. And then it became, this is my, this is what I have to do because of it, and a lot of, you have to do this, now you do this, and it's like, okay, I understand, and I think we're all gonna balance this out in this year. Like, we've all kind of started to find the things that are important to us, the things that we feel are injustices, and we're connected to them, and so some people have really taken that at a very extreme level. and tried it on. Like I see it sometimes as it's simulated thought. Like they see somebody else that's being a really great activist, and then they embrace those words, and then they put them out without really seeing if, like, wait, what does this really mean to me? And so in this situation for me, it was like there was an opportunity for this person to call and say, hey, I've got something heavy to say, and I understand that we're already behind deadline, and there's other variables in hand, and this is work, and maybe this is not the most appropriate time to do it, but they didn't do that. They just dropped a bomb in my inbox, and it was like, and so what was upsetting for me was, what about our relationship? What, like, me, like we've talked about the thing that she was stuck on, like, I thought she knew where I stood on stuff like this, and so, but there was no time for that. It was more about this, and no awareness or empathy to, you don't even know what I'm doing in terms of making this okay because you've missed the deadline so many times, and I'm like covering up for you, and you don't have any idea of any of the other stuff that's going on in my life, and you just drop this in here, and I think that's dangerous. So there is this, like, yes, we're woke, but don't let your awakeness, if that's the right word, your wokeness. It's not even either one of them are totally grammatically correct, but don't let that be the thing that's now everything to you. Don't forget where people are and where you were with them, and don't forget how to talk about this. And it's not, back to what Andi was saying, it's not right or wrong. There's so many areas of gray in how we talk to each other. I think the best thing that's come out of this year for me is understanding non-binary, like really understanding that everything doesn't have to be black or white or right or wrong. Like, there are so many different areas in between there, and when we make things binary, somebody always loses. Somebody is always wrong.
Well, I think you're wrong. No.
So it's just yes, empathy, and don't, in that empathy, don't forget about the relationship. Don't forget, like, when you get up on your high horse, like, don't forget about, hey, that relationship had value before you drop something on them. So, well, we are a little over time, but I want to do something with us because you guys are meeting each other for the first time. So now that you've heard everybody and a little bit what's in our head and hearts, like, is there anything that you just want to put out to this panel, this table, like, hey, I love the collaboration and what we're talking about right now, and, like, I just want to drop this topic on this table and let's talk about it, and that's how we'll go out in the show. And it could be a couple things, like, you got something?
No, I was going to have a go again out of me being polite, but she
Yeah.
said no.
Trying to get you to go first.
Yeah.
She caught me this time.
She caught you?
Yeah.
You have something?
No, I don't, actually.
Sure.
Yeah? Robert.
Since we're speaking about being woke, right? I mean, I've been out of the Marine Corps 8 years now, right? So, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I went to Venice Beach, and there was this guy wearing a big pizza sign talking about, come see the weed doctor. I mean, so from when I joined the Marine Corps in 2000 to getting out in 2010, there was this huge change, right? Like, I'm just starting to watch Entourage. Why that's important is because, like, I was gone, right? I didn't know this was a thing, right? So when Entourage was this big popular show, right, I never heard of it because I was off doing big boy stuff.
Yeah.
And so when I come back, there's this huge change, and we're in this huge shift still, and we're going to continue to be in this shift. The networks of our news channels are not going to, and news channels in a very general sense, it's not going to change. It's going to get more vast, and now we have VR, and, like, that's not going to stop. But what can stop is being courteous. I mean, what can stop is not being courteous to each other because we're woke, right? Like, I saw a video of this lady pouring bleach water on guys who were mansplaining. I don't know, right?
What?
Like, they're in the subway manspreading. These are things. What I'm saying is bleach. Yeah, she's going in the subway pouring bleach, and I'd never heard of this. These are things.
Manspreading.
I'd never heard of mansplaining until this year. So that's the thing. Like, if there is something to teach somebody, then teach them, right? Teach them properly with compassion and courteousness, not in anger. Like, you're mansplaining, you need to get out of my face, or you're manspreading.
And how about ask before you teach? Like, can I give you some feedback? You and I have talked about this. Like, nobody likes unsolicited advice. Like, that's not going to go down well for you. But like, hey, can I give you some feedback? Or hey, I have something that's really bothering me, and it's a kind of a heavy topic. Can we sit down and talk? Like, we have to invite people in and let them decide if they want to learn or be available for that conversation before we go, hey, I got to tell you.
Yes, and it's the idea. Do you mind? Sorry,
I do.
Talking stick.
I do not.
Okay, that it's the idea of the invitation. I think is so important, and I think that this is one of the things, the conversations I have all the time with my female friends and talking about toxic masculinity, right? Is that we have to invite men into the conversation. We're not going to change it by bashing men, and even the term toxic masculinity. I said it in front of my son, who's a 13-year-old boy, and he got so angry. He didn't know what it meant, but what he heard was men are toxic. And he ran into his room and slammed the door. And I had to go back in and sort of have a conversation with him and explain to him what I meant, but I was like, wow, that terminology is really upsetting to you, isn't it? And he was like, well, yeah. And I realized, like, these are the ways that we're shutting down conversations.
And it's not even a conversation, it's being, no, go ahead. Because it's being thrown, it's screamed at us, right? And so it's like, well, defense mechanism.
I'll take the mic from here. I think to that point, language is evolving, and we need to, we are going to need to do a lot of trial and error to evolve our language in order to speak to each other, because a lot of barriers that existed are being broken down, and it's going to require some, like, we're going to fall, we're going to fail, but we need to work together to learn how to communicate. And I think language is just very, it's very important, and it's very confusing right now.
And it's a matter of like impact over intent, right? So
I don't intend to say men are toxic when I talk about toxic masculinity, but the impact that it has on some men is that that's what I'm saying. Okay, so now I have to change my communication. As a communications expert, like, that is my job. If my communication is not landing the way that I intend it, it's not that person's fault. It's my job to readjust my communication so that it lands where I need it to.
Yeah. And I think the safest thing in this category of language is to embrace the art of asking questions. So what did you mean by that? Can we sit down and talk about this? Are you available for a conversation about XYZ? Tell me more. Did I get that right? I love mirroring. I love when you're sitting down with someone and it is, you know, there are some language barriers. Like, somebody might say red and you are picturing magenta, you know, even just in how we experience the world. But being able to, okay, here's a conversation. I heard you. Now I'm going to repeat back what I just heard. Did I get that right? Is there more to that? You know, this is the practice that I believe all of us, there's nobody on this earth that would not benefit by actually making time to practice communication. And it could just be, these are 4 questions that I'm going to put into my life and I'm going to ask in every human encounter that I have. These are my elevator questions when I'm in with strangers. This is my check-in with friends and family questions, but really practicing this art of communication.
Can I jump on that?
Yes.
Sorry not to take too much time, but being the father of a toddler, and you know, being raised in the manner that I had been, I see how uber important it is to communicate with my son on a level that he understands. So instead of just talking at him, right, you're talking about your 13, 14-year-old, like talking at him and saying, hey, you need to be respectful. Or like get down and say, what does respectful mean, right? And so these are what I mean by being respectful. Or it's we're not going to change adults. Let's face it, right? Like, you can open my eyes to certain things. Stephanie will laugh about like the hands in the pants thing. Like, you know, my wife. You were talking about. You're talking about. Yeah. No, I know.
What?
You were talking about like how women should not hold their voice in, right, and speak what's on their mind. And so it took. I've been with my wife for 8 years, and it took her 8 years to tell me, like, hey, you're holding my hand with the same hand that, like, men like have this thing where we just kind of put our hands like, and you might not be holding yourself. It's like whatever. Like, it's just the thought, right? And she said that. I go, why are you just now telling me this, right? Like you.
And there's a video proof of this.
8 years, yeah.
It's
really
funny. It's kind of it's hilarious.
But
it's
like
hilarious.
you know, not waiting to like way later to resolve a situation. Do it now in the proper sense. But like we're not going to change adults, like I said. But children are sponges. Like they are, they're just pulling in everything that we're saying, that we're doing, and so like we have to start with ourselves in our own homes, as educators, as parents, as mentors, as you know, as heroes. So that's kind of my last deal.
All right.
With that.
Well, on that note, yes, we are over, but it's holidays and we get to do what we want to do. I have to tell you guys, almost didn't have a show because the computer that we run the show on, the cooling fan went out. Oh. And so I didn't know until 7:30 last night that like we had a backup. So, you know, these learning things. And I was so, I mean, I can't even tell you, I was dancing around my place. I'm like, I was so joyful that like I went through this hard thing and now it's here. But so we have a show, we can run over if we want to because we have that prerogative. The thing that I do want to end on, and so just as you've heard, we're all talking about collaboration and relationships. I mean, it is no surprise that this is the group that gathered today. It feels really meaningful. And I'm really thankful that you're all here, and I'm glad that you got to meet each other. We all know how important relationships are, and if we can, in just a quick wrap up, I'd like for everyone to give a shout out to someone that you just want to honor right now. You know, we do this every show. It's called Heartswell, and it's meant to really encourage people watching to like, yeah, I need to like let somebody know that like I want to acknowledge them for how important they are in my life and how they've contributed to me getting here, and they're helpful to me. You know, it's so important that we know that we're in relationships with each other and we didn't get here alone. So if we can do this, like, you know, who comes to mind, talk to that person, we'll just go down the list this way.
No.
Yeah, we'll start.
Oh,
no, she's like, no.
I'm not ready.
Andi, are you ready?
I'll
Okay.
I got two, Lauren and Mara, two of my dear friends who've really helped guide me throughout this year. I love you.
Obviously, Arlene, my wife, backbone, but everybody who's ever given me a shot. I just took an old boss out for lunch and wrote him a letter and told him how he's helped get me to where I am today. So anybody who's ever given me a shot and give me a chance when society would say not to. Yeah.
I'm going to say my mom, Dion, and Maria, and they know why.
I'm going to say one of my good friends, Scott, but also bad experiences that I've had this year as well.
You're giving love to your bad experience.
Yeah.
All right. I like it.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Well,
give
in that
some,
case, I'm just kidding.
yeah, right. All the depression. I'd like to give a lot of love to Zoloft. Sponsored by.
If we're going that way, it should be cannabis. I'm just saying.
All of cannabis.
Yeah. Medman, if you're looking for a podcast to sponsor, that's how I get through it. I'm just kidding.
But for reals now, I want to give shout out to Toy and Kira, who have my back every day, and I would literally I wouldn't have a business or sanity without you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right, well, that does end our holiday show. We kind of went over. We're going to do another one like this next week with 4 other amazing women that will be talking about the same things, hopes and fears, and probably chuckle and giggle a lot as well. I want to remind everybody, so I think the social challenge of the week is think of somebody, make introductions. Just try that. Make 3 introductions this week for somebody for different reasons. Could be personal, could be business, but connect people. That's your social challenge of the week. I am going to repost everybody's shows so you can go back and learn about each one of the guests today and learn about what they're doing in the world and what makes them special. So you get to see that along with your meme. And there was another thing, the book. There's a book that I'm going to post. So all of those things will be in the archive. I want to remind everybody to check out our resources section on our site. There's amazing gift ideas there for just about anybody that's on your list. One of our affiliates is Masterclass. If you have somebody that loves learning, it could be learning how to cook or wanting to be a director, photographer. That's a great, great, great gift and a great source for, you want to learn how to play guitar. You can do all these great things, and they're from famous people. They're like celebrity teachers. Yeah, Chef Ramsay's on there. So Masterclass, we've got things for pet lovers. We have fashionistas, lots of different things for fashionistas. Check it out. These are our affiliates and sponsors that allow us to do what we do. So please check that out if you're looking for gift ideas. Thoughtfully, there's our new sponsor is called Thoughtfully, and they have all these great like food gifts. And there's adorable set pina colada glasses and this like shaker that's a pineapple. I love it. I'm probably gonna get that, even though I don't drink pina coladas. Anyhow, so that is our year-end wrap-up, part 1. You'll see another one next week. And as always, yes, I want to encourage everybody to... This is yours. You cost. You need to have this one.
Yeah, like permanently.
Seriously, over your mouth. Seriously. But I just want to encourage everybody to relate with their core curiosities. See you next week. Bye.